Hi everybody, welcome back to Pax Unplugged 2025. We are here with the creative team of Emergent, a new TTRPG, fully funded as a crowdfund, and moving product on the floor.
Thanks so much.
Say how. You want to introduce yourself, say where you can be found and everything, and where they can find the company?
Yeah, so I'm Austin. I'm one of the two lead designers. Our other designer, Daniel, is not at the con this weekend. And I don't really have a social media presence for the game, but you can find the game on Itch.io and DriveThruRPG.
Hey, my name is Quinn. I use any and all pronouns. You can find me on Blue Sky at QuinnBeckham27. You can tell I'm used to doing this introduction a lot. I'm also an actual play performer and GM. And I talk about this game a lot. I run this game often on the Logomancy channel. We have a ongoing actual play of it, so you can watch it if you want to learn more about it.
Hi, I'm Tom. I can usually be found clinging next to Quinn. They have any social media.
And his voice is mostly gone from all the awesome things doing.
It's been an exciting con.
At the PAX bar last night.
Oh, and you can find the official Emergent social medias on Instagram and Blue Sky at Emergent RPG.
Are there other collaborators or creators you want to shout out, like that were involved? Maybe where, if you know.
Yeah,
where
my co-designer Daniel Staples. He, I believe it's DanielStaplesArt.com. He has a website, not really social media so much.
Blaine.
And Blaine, yeah, he runs he helped with our graphic design, and he's running the Emergent social media pages, the Emergent RPG that I mentioned.
So the graphic design is really interesting. It draws everybody in the moment they see it. You want to explain?
Thank you. Yeah. So this was. The concept of the game is you are high school kids that get superpowers and you fight monsters. So we wanted to go really all in on that design. And I had this vision of a composition notebook like many of us had in high school, middle school, all of that. And then if you want to look inside, the book is written on, simulated lined paper. The photos are like stapled or taped in. We have, sticky notes and like doodles on the side. A lot of these doodles were actually submitted by folks who backed the Kickstarter. And on the front, you can see who submitted the doodle and what page it's on. And so Blaine did an amazing job realizing that vision. I did a lot of the grunt work, and he did a lot of the turning my outline into something beautiful. It was really amazing. I'll show you one more thing, sorry. My favorite little bit is our crafting section here that we did on blueprint paper. This is one of my favorite parts of the graphic design.
Yeah. It's a beautiful design. I will say it's a hefty book.
It is.
It is heftier than you think. Until you put it in your hand.
400 pages,
and
hardcover.
Like, oh my God, I'm doing weightlifting. Inadvertently. Because in the library, they'll get stronger.
Yeah.
It's a superpower it has for you. When I look at the book, I see a whole lot of inspirations that I find very interesting. I'm going to go over a list of some, and you add to it if you think they're inspirations that you kind of felt as you were creating. So SCP, I'm sure that was an inspiration.
Yeah.
At least in some way.
Yes. A little less for the main, kids fighting the monsters, but definitely for the shadowy government organization who is oftentimes an antagonist of both the monsters and the players.
Right. Tales from the Loop.
Yes, definitely.
Magnus Archives.
Yes, a little bit. I haven't listened to as much as I would like to, but...
I think I've listened to more and also played the game.
Yeah.
Harry Potter, because of the school aspect.
Sure. Yeah, I wouldn't say that was that wasn't an inspiration in my head, but I could see how, the school with powers / magic and trying to keep that identity of yourself hidden. It wasn't actively in my head when I was writing, but I can definitely see that.
Okay. Gen V and Homelander.
Yeah. Our heroes are a little more.
No if you don't feel
our heroes are definitely more. They're less anti-heroes. They're not the sort of pessimistic take on superheroes. They're not the traditional Marvel DC take either of paragons of virtue because you're underground. You're kind of keeping your identity a secret.
And you're a high
Triangle.
schooler.
Triangle Agency.
I have not engaged with that media, but so many people have mentioned it that yes, it has. Enough people have said yes that it has the vibes.
For the organization
Yeah.
stuff, it's. I don't want to say there's parallels
Mm-hmm.
because that's not really the right word. I would say this fits into a zeitgeist of
Yes.
superheroism,
Absolutely.
and it happens to also be a high school student's one. So
Mm-hmm.
you have all the emotional angst, the
Yes.
worrying your parents aspects, which I think leads to really great. I don't know if you call them scenes or not, but scenes of regular life intruding. Like Spider-Man, and when he goes home and has to deal with his mom not knowing
Yeah.
that he's a superhero.
That is actually a major part of the game is time management and balancing your school, family, extracurricular responsibilities with there's a monster running around killing people and we're the only ones who can stop it. And yeah, it's a balancing act between do you skip your classes, do you skip your extracurriculars, and then have the people in your life get suspicious, which has a number of negative consequences. It could be, your parents ground you or they call the cops to try and find you, or it could be your friends who you keep blowing off, they go looking for you and they show up in the middle of a monster encounter. And then, well, that's not so much a penalty on you, but oh no, my non-superpowered friends have just walked into a dangerous area, and now we need to stop what we're doing to take care of them.
So in Emergent, when you start out, are you playing someone who has no powers initially and you grow into them, or do you start with powers and they just, how is the tiering or leveling work?
The character creation, you will pick your power, but we talk about in the GM section in the back, a recommendation for especially campaign play rather than just a one-shot is start your characters at quote-unquote level 0, where you have all your stats, but you don't have your power yet. And here are a couple ways you can have the players gain their powers in the course of the first session or two. You could have it, they encounter the monster and then discover they have powers in the midst of that first encounter, or some other supernatural, struck by lightning.
Would you, as one of the designers, is it a crunchy game? Is it a more narrative game? Sitting somewhere in the middle? How would you describe it?
Yeah, I would say it errs on the side of crunchy. We tried to go into it with a much more rules-light approach and wound up becoming more crunchy than
Writing
we
a bunch of rules, yeah.
We wrote rules. Oh no, yeah, no. There is a decent amount of crunch, especially because of the timekeeping system is rigid because time is a resource. You have to allocate your time between school, monster hunting, and sleep, and that is a major conflict in the game. So time has to be kept at specific intervals. You have 9 what are called sequences in a day to spend doing what you want. So you do kind of have to track the time you spend on each thing, but we've broken it into these narrative units, so it's not like you're tracking hours and minutes. We have 9 things we can do in a day, and some of them have to be sleep, some of them have to be school, some of them can be whatever we want. There is a lot of narrative play because yes, you are fighting monsters, but you don't fight them all that often. They're really, really powerful at first. You don't have a chance to beat them in a fair fight at any point of the game. So for the first probably 3/4, if you're fighting the monster at all, you're fighting it very quickly to get out or accomplish an objective like rescue a civilian. And it's not until the very end of each episode that you actually engage in a proper combat where you have a chance at winning. And that is only because you've done a lot of investigation to find the monster weaknesses, you've done a lot of preparation, you've made your little homemade propane canister explosive, or put nails into a baseball bat to fight with. So there is a lot of role play and narrative that leads up to that. And of course, at the same time, you're going to practice, you're going to theater, you're, taking care of your family, you're taking care of your friends, you're having high school drama, crushes and whatever, trying to come to terms with your sexuality, whatever, all those things you do in high school. I'll open it up to these two, but that's something we've had a lot of players really enjoy, kind of reliving the sort of I wish I made different decisions about my life in high school, and having an avenue to explore that in kind of a fun way with also a supernatural element.
There was one interesting tool in it that I'd like a little explanation of, which is strain, which I thought was really interesting, an interesting addition to your toolkit.
Yeah, so played a lot. Call of Cthulhu was my first horror RPG. Did not like the sanity system at all. Wanted to come up with a better, more true to life, and more meaningful way to conceptualize the psychological strain that comes with what you're doing. So I actually worked a lot with Quinn on having we had a sensitivity reader, but Quinn helped specifically with the system because they have a psychology degree, and the idea is that you build up stress over time just through encountering horrifying monsters or skipping school. Everything. Stress is usually a mandatory thing. You're not rolling to avoid it. You build it up. Do you get just frustrated with your team members, and then the consequence of that is you start handing out stress to them? Or do you just kind of fall into despair, and then you're not healing effectively, you're not working effectively? Do you become restless? Then you have trouble sleeping. Sleeping stops restoring your energy as much. There's a lot of ways that you can you build into your character how they respond negatively to stress. And then you get to pick one of those things that you picked at character creation when you fail that role and have to deal with the negative consequences of your stress.
So talking about strain,
Yep.
and you're a therapist. So when you brought this mechanic in, or helped build this mechanic, did you pull from real world understanding of stress and strain and turn that into a functional mechanic?
Yeah, I mean,
Effectively?
you had the idea first, definitely. You brought it to me and had me read over it and review it. We definitely wanted to mimic real life as much as possible, right? In a fun way. Obviously, dealing with stress in real life sucks. We wanted to make dealing with stress in the game something that is both mechanical and also you can roleplay into it as much as you want. We had some really fun, I'm thinking even back to the first playtest, some of the frustrated, there was a scene where we were yelling at each other so much in character that his wife was concerned because we were playing so much into the fact that our characters had 3 strain effects each. And it also gets cumulatively worse and worse and worse. So there's also a level of it forcing you to deal with your strain and stress. Also kind of true to real life, right? If you don't deal with and manage your stress and strain over time, you're just going to reach a point where you can't do anything. You're no longer effective. So adding into the kind of timekeeping mechanic where time is a really important resource in the game, at some point you simply must stop and de-stress or you're not going to be able to do anything else.
Mostly we just wanted to move away from sanity as your mental resource, which is problematic for a lot of reasons, and towards stress. Is you're under stress and you're dealing with that stress either positively in productive ways or negatively in destructive ways.
When I was reading it, as a GM, I run a lot of games, I immediately, in my head, I thought, the ways you deal with it or mitigate it, when you're doing those activities, that's when I would give you inspirational ideas to solve your problem, to force them to do it. Because I would hate for them to just build it, and until they're
Suffer.
an explosive character. I would build into the mitigation almost like Blades in the Dark flashback scene or something. It's man, that would be a really cool toy for a GM to really play with in there.
Yeah. And the intention behind those scenes is to get rid of strain effects. You have to work together. You can't clear them on your own. So it's a lot of good roleplay opportunity to you and another character have a moment to talk through some stuff.
Yeah. So superpowers are notoriously hard to balance. Do you feel they're balanced, or did you just allow them to be what they need to be to not only be effective, but also kind of fit the genre too?
Yeah. So our powers are on a much lower power bracket than the Avengers or the DC characters, or you're very understated, you're very subtle. A lot of the powers there's very few there is I shoot a lightning bolt, or I throw a fireball, or I punch with super strength, but most powers are you can manipulate your environment in a certain way. And that manipulation of the environment is not inherently damaging or beneficial. You have to use it creatively. So one of the powers can refract beams of light. And a lot of monsters are sensitive to light, that's effective, but you have to figure out the best way to utilize that light manipulation power in concert with your friends, helping to pin the monster down, or in concert with your crafting to try and trap it or focus it, or working with the power that can control electricity to turn on the big lights that you then focus into the monster. Very few of the powers have a sort of you just roll damage. They're usually, you can engage the environment, you can, change the gravity of some objects, or turn an object invisible, or delete an object, or light something on fire. Other powers that you can bring more examples, but yeah, that's the way the balancing works. Is everyone has their aspect of reality that they're kind of in charge of, but very few of the powers are just throw dice at the monster. It's mostly how can you and your team creatively use it. And the other thing is, there's a bunch of powers that are entirely focused on information gathering. They're not fighters, or they can be fighters, just not with their powers, which is a critical part of succeeding in the game. So the balance there is they are the masters of the information gathering phase of the game, whereas someone else might be more beneficial in the combat sections or the chases or something like that. So different niches and not a lot of direct damaging powers helps the balance a lot.
You have to be a team to defeat these monsters.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the cool things about the powers is that there are the different, there's frontliners, runners, support, informants, and we've had groups that don't have all of them. It definitely works best when you have a variety of people in your party. And then another element to the balance is, especially, again, early level, you all pretty much are subtle. Even Apex, which is the super strength, kind of Superman-esque-ish power. You can do other things. You can run really fast and...
So an oops, all information gatherers would be a kind of a dangerous way to go.
You could do it. You might die.
Well, the thing is that, yeah, you can have a combat power, but you can absolutely do all your fighting just through the crafting system and setting traps and exploiting the monster's weaknesses through mundane means. You could absolutely run an all-informant. You would actually probably have a harder time with all frontliners.
I was just going to say,
because you can't beat the monster with brute force, ever. No matter how hard you try, you need to exploit the weaknesses that you get through information gathering. We've tried it. Tom especially has tried throwing 5 frontliners at a monster and see what happens, and it never works. You need to do the information gathering.
I will say too, since we have both books out here, these are balanced, these are wacky. This is the book that the core rule book we did a lot of playtesting for. Also, all the powers in here were extensively playtested. We made sure every power in here was tested. Many of them went through multiple revisions. The Lost Episodes, which is the expansion, is where the powers, you can talk directly to the GM and gain information. The wacky fun stuff's in here. This might not make for the most balanced party, but it makes for a very fun party, so.
Yeah, the nature of some of these powers is just something you can't play test effectively because it's so situational.
Right. Nice.
On that balance, one of the fun parts about Emergent, and I think also one of the parts of it, is that you cannot die against one. It's entirely consensual as a player. You talk to the GM once you go down. Very, very difficult and nearly statistically impossible to die without being very clear with your GM. This is what I want. I don't want to lose a leg. I don't want to lose an eye. I just want to die and go on to a different character. It's one of, I think, the counterbalances if you feel like you've got an underclocked character. Maybe your power isn't working for you properly, or your stats just don't align with your vision for what that character is meant to be.
Yeah, there's a system of taking life-altering injuries instead of death.
Yeah, that actually was one when I was mentioning the inspirations. Tales from Loop has a no death mechanic, and I saw that and I was like, oh, that's really interesting that you've created. I actually think your system is better because it's not just a hard. It doesn't exist. It's it has to be performative with both the character and the GM.
Yeah.
And there's mechanics for what could also happen.
Yeah. You will still get consequences for being downed all the way. But those consequences don't have to be death, unless death is what you as a player and what seems narratively best.
So is the system completely original? Did you use a license from any other games?
No, it is completely original. The dice system is it's got some inspirations, but it's an original dice system. The powers are kind of their own thing. Each one has each power has one of these power trees that shows the leveling path. You start at one and you kind of move throughout the tree, and each one of them is shaped differently to somehow interact with the theming of the power, and that's kind of how your leveling progression goes.
So now that this is out, oh, by the way, congratulations on crowdfunding it.
Oh, thank you.
The first game, beautiful. Love to see that. So what's next for Emergent now? What are the things cooking in your brains now for it?
We are actually we've done fulfillment of the Kickstarter as far as getting the physical and the PDFs out to all our backers. There were stretch goals that we added on late because we got more money than we expected to and had to figure out what to do. So we are still working.
Problem, yeah.
We are still working on those stretch goals. One is a module for level 1 to 3, 1 to 2, 1 to 3. You can kind of, the GM has some freedom. It's both a starter module to introduce people to the game and a setting. The module is intended to be, this is your first adventure, and then you can keep going with your own monsters, with your own stories, and we've provided you a setting with lots of NPCs, lots of locations, and lots of interesting hooks for the future. But we've just written the one monster for you. That's our main focus right now, is finishing everything we promised for the Kickstarter. But yeah, who knows what the future could hold. We've thought about, we have ideas knocking around for other powers. We already have 40 of them, so there's a lot. And while we have a monster builder that lets you make your own modular monsters with a frankly ridiculous number of combinations, we've thought about what could be some interesting monsters that we handcraft for players to run.
We do have some. There are monsters in both the back of the core rulebook and some, again, wackier ones in lost episodes, but monsters are fun to make, and we could definitely have more, yeah?
Yeah, the modular monster builder is cool, but it doesn't have perfect total freedom.
Yeah.
So we thought, let's do some more interesting stuff for some more handcrafted monsters, maybe. And yeah, I think potentially the future would probably look like that and maybe more modules, but nothing in set in stone yet, except what we've promised in the Kickstarter.
Nice. Is there a way to play it with a VTT? Are there tokens or anything available yet?
Not really. The game doesn't use a lot of... You don't need a battle map at all to run it. For your final combat, it might be nice to do a grid just to keep, if you've set a bunch of traps and stuff, it might be nice to have it all visually laid out in front of you. But for the most part, VTT is not really essential.
There are tokens on the itch page, that you get with the download.
Yes,
yeah.
I don't know why I forgot that.
We have
We
tokens.
actually did make tokens. Yes, we don't have a plugin or anything for Foundry or anything like that, but we do have tokens you can use or print out, whatever you want to do. Thank you for reminding me.
We're at a con, we're running on little sleep, it's fine.
Yeah.
And we're running out of time because you actually have to go to
a meet and greet, yes.
A meet and greet. So why don't you tell everybody where they can find the product?
Emergent RPG.
And where they can find you.
Yeah, emergentrpg.com is going to be our nexus of, it's got our social medias, it's got our purchasing links, but if you want to go straight to itch.io or straight to DriveThruRPG, just type Emergent into the search bar and you'll probably find it. Quinn is very active on social media. I am less active, but I'm there, Emergent RPG on Instagram and Blue Sky. We had a Twitter, not really anymore, but yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for spending a few minutes with me. I know you've got a super rush schedule. We do too. If you ever go to PAX, you'll find you'll have a pretty rushed schedule, even if you come here doing nothing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And good luck to Emergent.
Thank you.
See you at the next one.